We sold, we received requests for over 500 million tickets.
You can't just get on a plane and come. With those visa restrictions, you have to apply to come to the U.S.
The U.S. is really unable to protect its own citizens right now. We are seeing people killing in broad daylight in streets. So what about tourists?
500 million ticket applications. 500 million. That is the figure made public by FIFA, a number never seen before in the history of world football. The World Cup 2026 was meant to be the biggest football celebration ever held. It was meant to bring the world together. That was the promise. But instead of joy and excitement, something very different is unfolding. Boycotts, music, ticket cancellations, tickets being ripped apart on camera. One of the most striking moments came when a Lebanese diplomat stood in front of reporters and tore his World Cup ticket into pieces. Not because he dislikes football, not because he lost interest in the game, but because he no longer trusts the country hosting the tournament. So, how did the most anticipated sporting event on the planet reach this point? And the bigger question is this: does World Cup 2026 still belong to the whole world, or only to those who are permitted to enter? On January 7th, 2025, in Minneapolis, one of the official host cities for World Cup 2026, a 37-year-old American woman named Renee Nicole Emlyn Good was shot and killed by agents during an immigration raid. Within hours, the video spread across social media. These were not scenes of welcome or preparation. There were no smiles, no celebrations. What people saw instead were guns, blood, and panic on streets expected to host millions of international visitors in less than 2 years. The mayor of Minneapolis responded quickly, ordering out of the city, but the impact of what happened did not stop there. The message traveled far beyond Minneapolis. It crossed borders, it crossed time zones, music, and it reached people around the world who were already holding World Cup tickets in their hands. In the days that followed, more than 16,800 people canceled their ticket registrations during Music Phase 3 of the lottery. Compared to 500 million applications, that number may seem small, less than a fraction of a percent. But this was never about how many people canceled. It was about why they did. Fans did not walk away because they stopped loving football. They canceled because they were scared, because they felt uncertain, because they no longer trusted a country that was once viewed as open and welcoming. Then came the image that changed everything. A Lebanese diplomat silently tearing his ticket apart in front of the cameras. No speech, no long explanation, no dramatic words. The message was clear without a single sentence. This was no longer just an individual choice. It was a political statement aimed directly at FIFA, at Music Washington, and at audiences watching across the globe. To understand why so many people are turning away, you have to look at where this crisis truly began. Not with football, not with FIFA, but with a series of government decisions coming out of Washington that carried consequences far beyond sport. Consequences larger than any ban ever imposed in the history of international competition. An executive order signed by Donald Trump suspended visa processing from 75 countries. 75? Citizens of Iran and Haiti were fully barred. Citizens of Côte d'Ivoire and Senegal, both nations that qualified for World Cup 2026, faced partial restrictions. Visa fees increased by music an additional $250. Processing times became unclear, with no firm deadlines and no guarantees. Now imagine a father in Lagos, Nigeria. He saved for 3 years to buy a music ticket so he could watch his son's football hero play in person. He booked his hotel early, even as regional prices climbed by 328%. He submits his visa application, and then he waits. He waits without a timeline, without answers, without knowing if he will ever be allowed to get on a plane. That story is not rare. It belongs to millions of fans across Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia. People who love football just as much as anyone else. People who grew up with the game. And now, they stand in front of a door that could close at any moment without warning. At the same time, images of immigration raids continue to flood social media every single day. TikTok, X, Instagram. These are the same platforms where millions of young fans follow news about World Cup 2026. And on those same screens, they are watching scenes of arrests, fear, and force. The contradiction is impossible to ignore. A country inviting the world to a global celebration, while at the same time building walls that keep tens of millions of people music out. Policy does more than create paperwork problems. It creates fear. And once fear spreads, it cannot be erased with a press release or a slogan. As the situation grew more serious, the world music turned its attention to one place: FIFA headquarters in Zurich. This is the organization with the authority to decide the future of music, the biggest tournament on Earth. And its response, or the absence of one, said everything. The first senior figure to finally speak was Victor Montagliani, FIFA's vice president. His words were short and direct. Football is bigger than any regime. No soft language, no careful phrasing. When Donald Trump publicly suggested that matches could be moved away from Seattle and Boston, two cities dealing with rising internal political tension, Montagliani did not hesitate. He pushed back openly. Behind the scenes, FIFA held emergency meetings to discuss backup plans, including shifting matches to other locations. No press release followed, no formal announcement, but the signal was unmistakable. FIFA is quietly preparing for a worst-case scenario. That, however, is only part of the story. The more unsettling part is who has not spoken at all. Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA and the most powerful figure in global football, has remained completely silent. Not once has he spoken on behalf of fans denied visas. Music, not once has he criticized policies that are stripping the tournament of its inclusive spirit. Infantino is known to have a close personal relationship with Trump, and to many observers that silence now feels less like caution and more like complicity. Still, FIFA holds one final card. Under the current hosting agreement, World Cup 2026 is spread across 11 cities in the United States, 3 cities in Mexico, and 2 cities in Canada. Legally, FIFA has full authority to relocate matches' music if host conditions can no longer be guaranteed. This is not a symbolic option. It is real power. It is the strongest form of quiet leverage Zurich holds over Washington. The real question is not whether FIFA can act. It is whether FIFA is willing to. Because when global institutions hesitate under political pressure, the world does not pause. The world adapts, and it adapts quickly. That is because the World Cup has never been just about football. It is about moments. It is about a father in the Middle East taking his son into a stadium for the first time in his life. It is about a school teacher in Lagos, saving for 2 years just to stand among strangers and sing her national anthem at full volume. These are experiences no amount of money can replace, and yet they are being erased by a single visa rejection notice. As the backlash grew, international organizations began to speak out. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch released formal statements, music condemning the entry restrictions, calling them discriminatory and completely incompatible with the values of a global sporting event. Online, the response exploded. On TikTok and X, the hashtag Boycott 2026, music spread rapidly from Africa to Asia, from the Middle East to Europe. Fans filmed themselves burning jerseys. They canceled flights booked months, even years in advance. Not because they didn't want to attend, but because they no longer felt wanted. And when fans step back, money follows. Quietly and without fanfare, major sponsors began adjusting their strategies. Emirates, Visa, and Adidas, some of the tournament's largest financial backers, started shifting parts of their activation budgets toward Canada and Mexico. This was not a protest. It was simple business sense. No global brand wants to be associated with empty seats. No sponsor wants to invest millions in an event that half the world is openly rejecting. At the same time, international media kept the spotlight fixed on the issue. BBC, Reuters and Al Jazeera ran ongoing coverage analyzing visa denial rates and tracking each wave of international backlash. This was no longer a sports story buried at the back of the paper. It had moved to the front page, where politics, diplomacy, and power collide. Because to the rest of the world, every empty seat means something. It is not just a chair left unused. It is a message. While Washington struggled under mounting controversy, a very different picture was taking shape just north and south of the border. Canada did not need press conferences or grand speeches to announce its readiness. Infrastructure projects were completed ahead of schedule. Visa rules were clear, consistent, and predictable. No vague conditions, music forcing applicants to wait in silence. No raid footage, no viral fear. Just prepared cities, finished stadiums, and one clear message: everyone is welcome. Mexico offered something equally powerful but different: experience. Having hosted the World Cup before in 1970 and 1986, the country understands how to turn a tournament into a celebration. It knows how to welcome international fans and make them feel at home, regardless of where they come from. And that difference is becoming impossible to ignore. Here is the most revealing part of all. Neither Canada nor Mexico ever had to criticize the United States. They did not issue public